Welcome to our LB's The Lover of Books author chat. If this is your first time here live or watching the recording, I'm so glad you found us. I've had the honor to interview over 85 debut to best-selling authors, and readers like you have helped my YouTube channel, LB The Lover of Books, grow and amass. Y'all, we're just double digits away from 29,000 hours watched. Like it's
Wow.
growing. I so appreciate you taking the time to like and comment as it really helps readers find this content and especially subscribing. Now, to introduce you to our most recent LB author, Ariel Sullivan. She lives in Connecticut with her husband and two sons, as well as their two French bulldogs. Growing up as a military brat, Ariel moved every 2 years and was perpetual new kid. She often observed from the outskirts where a deep love of reading was born. When she isn't writing, Ariel loves to read everything, and that's from poetry to psychology. She bakes with her son, she listens to live music, and she likes to travel. And she is traveling right now in Montana. So I'm so glad that you're joining us from spring break. Welcome. So glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
All right. So I'm sure you've had this question before, but I want to know where the first spark of Conform came from, and then how did it go from that to now this amazing debut?
Yeah. So this started in 2020. To caveat, I have always wanted to be a writer. As long as I can remember, I read The Phantom Tollbooth when I was 8, fell in love, and was like, I'm going to do that one day. But took me a long time to actually sit down and do it. I started a lot of projects and found a lot of reasons why I shouldn't finish them. And so Conform started in COVID. I had just had my second kid. Everything was shut down. I was struggling with postpartum depression. So I think it gave me freedom to like really pursue something because I felt like the stakes were so low. And I had nowhere to go. We were all home. And so we got a text message from a friend who said, "Hey, I tested positive." And it was one of those like, do I have to test? Do I have to quarantine? I offhandedly said to my husband, sooner or later, we're all going to have this chip in our wrist. And it's going to tell us if we're sick or deficient. And if we're sick, we're not going to be able to go anywhere. And it's going to stop the spread of disease. And this will never happen again. I went to bed, thought nothing of it. I woke up at 2 a.m. to nurse my son, and this idea had like exploded in my subconscious. And I was like, wait, like, what if they did do that? And what if that was your worth? And then it just started to spiral. And I didn't go back to bed after I nursed my son. I started writing notes. And the next couple days, I started like kind of figuring out how I wanted to write it. And it took me about a year of drafting and like expanding the universe because this was going to be a one and done book.
Ah,
And that was already intimidating to me because like I had just mentioned, I had started and I had found a lot of reasons to finish. And so I was like, one, I can do one. And so I mapped out this for one book. I got 3 chapters in. I was like, this is a trilogy. Easy. Like it cannot be one book. And I was like, okay, a trilogy is not too bad. We'll make this work. Then I got to 6 chapters and I was like, wait, this is two trilogies. And by the time I finished it, it was a three trilogy universe that I had like come up with. And at that point, it was giving me so much joy just to write it and such a good escape that I was like, why can't I do it? Like, what's to lose? And so, yeah, it was all because of COVID and people being sick. And it kind of allowed me to get out of my own way. And it spiraled into something that you're all seeing now.
well, I love that COVID had a positive impact because it didn't in so many other cases, but for
Yes.
this, we are so, so grateful. And it just is amazing how you went from a chip in my arm to three trilogies. It blows my mind, but I love that you just let that frustration and that fear go and you were able to just have fun. What do you find is the most fun thing about writing this book, Conform?
Um, I think it allows me in some ways, obviously this is an adult book, but it allows me to be a kid again. I think one of the most beautiful things about being an adult and learning to like yourself, and that took me a very long time, is I feel like I get to know myself when I was this like quirky, kind of weird kid, but this time I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And so I love that aspect of like sitting down with a blank document and being like, you get to make whatever you want. And I don't think adults get to play enough. And so for me, it's like such a freedom and all this lifelong of wanting that I get to put here. And I joke that the reason it got to 9 is it was 30 years of me being like, I can't do this. And finally it was like all of that exploded. And so for me, that's so fun that I get to do this now for a living too, which is like blows my mind all the time. I'm like, I have tricked everybody. Somehow this is a joke, but I love it. And so creating will always be my favorite. And then the other coolest part has been connecting to readers once they've read the book,
Yes.
because like writing is so not lonely, but isolating. And then you get to get in front of people and they're like, wait, your book made me feel this or think or feel seen, or I felt less alone. And that has been the coolest because I'm a reader first. And I think that's what everybody looks for in books.
Well, we are so excited to have you here to connect with all of us. I did hear you use the word mapping out when you were
Mhm.
talking about even that first book. How do you go about mapping not just one, but nine? And not only that, but you're having to create rules in this world that will now sustain from beginning to end. And it's not like you can change. I mean, you can morph some things maybe, but how do you make that work?
Yeah, everybody gets asked if you're a pantser or a plotter, and I say I'm neither. I'm a mapper. Plotting feels too rigid, and I feel like I'm playing God in my narrative, and pantsing just terrifies me because I need to know we're going somewhere. So I like to map out every book, and I map out the books in the sense of I know the ending, I know the climax, I know the point of no return. So I know all the main points, and then I like to go into like my thematic arc. And what are my themes here? What is it that I'm trying to get to and see? And then how does that mix with every single character? Because I think that's where all your tension and like
Mhm.
stakes are born is like, what themes are you trying to get across? What does your main character want? And then in terms of making rules for the 9 books, I see world building as a character. I treat it as a complete entity of, and once I did that, it felt so easy to create a world because it's like, okay, well, why was it born or why did it come to be?
Mhm.
What is the main points that you cannot change? What can be changed? And like, what does the world want? Why was it created? And so I just started to keep going and going with this. And so to me, the world is a character that interacts with the world building is a character that interacts with every single character and every theme, and you make it right, you have tension immediately. And
Mhm.
so that's just how I do it. And then for mapping, I've got notes everywhere, but I don't have any crazy boards. I don't have any cool charts. I wish I did. Oh, did I freeze?
Yes, but we can hear you still.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
My phone likes to think that I should be on it all the time when
Oh,
it's
no
there you go.
worries.
I just silenced it.
Okay.
So yeah, I map them all out and then I map out how every single timeline interacts too, because I am going between timelines.
Okay.
And so I tie those together as well. But there is no board, there's no master notebook. Yeah, so I was saying that it's very organic in the sense of getting from one point to the next. I don't like to make it where it feels like I'm dragging my characters along the narrative because they really need to pull.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Beautiful. Yes.
Okay, we are on my phone. Sorry about
Okay.
that, everybody.
I think this will be great. Okay, we're
Great.
back and we're going to start again with the world. That's where we're picking up. And I'll slice this video. We'll see how I do. Okay.
Okay. Sorry
For
about that, everybody.
they're all still with us. They're excited.
Amazing.
Okay, so the world, what do you call this world? Did it have a nickname starting off? Do you have something you still call it?
Um, I mean, yes, for as friends, as jokes, everybody who knows me calls it my mind palace.
Okay.
Um, but no, so this is gonna come up as to why it doesn't have a better name in the series. And I should probably check. Is this spoiler free?
Boy,
Spoilers?
full.
Okay.
Full
Okay. So
into this.
we're in the spoilers. Okay.
Yes.
So the reason it doesn't have a better name is a part of the narrative. It's called the city. The conform universe in my mind, because conform is the first, I call it the conform universe.
Okay. Okay. And when you're building out these nine, so you already know what's going to happen in all 9 books.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there'll definitely be times where a character will surprise me on how something happens. But as terms of how everything's layered and how the world works, that doesn't change for me in the sense of how I've written it out.
Okay. And then how did you end up connecting with Jenna Bush Hager and A Thousand Voices? Because what? That is so cool.
Yeah. It is amazing and it is a very funny story. I touched briefly that I started this writing thing in postpartum depression. The same child I had that postpartum depression in is the reason that I met Jenna. We live in the same town, and our youngest went to school together. And at the time, I like my son got in the car after a couple months of school, and he's like, I have a new friend, and his name is Hal. And obviously, one of my characters is Hal. And so I was like, oh my God, this is the universe. It's telling me that this is the right name, that I'm on the right track. And I like took it to heart. And however, there is no Hal on the school list because they were all Henrys, because I didn't know that was his first name. But still, I needed the sign. So I took it. Fast forward 18 months later, the kids are still friends. We've done some play dates, but Jenna and I have only ever connected in passing. She invited us over for a play date, and my New Year's resolution that year was to tell people that I had been writing because I had kept it so quiet and to myself. And I said, hey, I'm so sorry. I was running late because I got distracted and I was writing. And if it still works, I'd love to come over. I'll bring George. And she was like, yeah, great, come over. I show up with George, and she kindly asked me what I was writing. And at that point, I had been rejected a lot. But I was like, you said you were going to talk about it. There's nothing to lose here. You're two moms talking. And she was the first person that I told I pitched all 9 books. I say pitched, but I wasn't pitched. I explained how big the world was. And at the end of this play date, she said, send it to me. And I was like, oh, you don't have to. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't expect that. I don't live under a rock. I know what she does for a living. I know she's got the read with Jenna. She's like, no, 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 do it. Like, maybe, we'll see what happens. And so I sent it 2 weeks later after she read it. She was like, I have this idea if you want to talk. And she told me all about this wonderful imprint that she was doing. And it turned into where we are now. And it all happened because of a play date.
So when you were talking to her at the play date, you had no idea about the imprint at that point. You just knew hers read with Jenna and
Yeah, no. So the imprint was just in its very early stages when we had connected. And she kind of took it like she's told me in sense, like almost like, oh, here's this great idea. And you have this great idea and you're trying to get it going. And so, she got me in contact with some agents and, she was like, see if this is a right fit. I think we could do something great. And thankfully, it was a great fit. And I couldn't be happier. She is such a phenomenal human, but also like one of the best cheerleaders I've ever met for like helping people chase their dreams. It's so fun to meet the other Thousand Voices authors that she's selected. She just brings good people together and she has a wonderful way of bringing the right stories out. And I'm so appreciative.
well, we are so appreciative as well. Okay, you're pitching 9, but you're pitching Conform as book 1, and then you go, we know Beneath is coming as 0 next. So
Yes.
explain that and how did you get that across to her that, hey, this is really the way it's going?
So she's told me since that how strongly I felt about it is why they kind of entertained it. But for me, I'm a firm believer and have always been infatuated with the idea that history repeats itself.
Yes.
And I've always wondered why things are cyclical. And is it the human nature of, because you can take it out of so many different cultures and places and times, and somehow things seem to happen over and over again. And I had this idea while building, the universe and how this world worked. If I wanted to stay true to the world building that I made, giving the readers the answers they needed to understand it, I'd have to break the character. And I don't believe in ever breaking a character. Like, I don't think you should do that. And so I had this idea of, I was writing out the last war kind of like in notes and how it affected Emeline's world. And I was like, wait, I think this is like a story. Like, I think this is this is its own thing. And that's like at the 6th chapter mark. And so I dove into that and I had a full, like I said, a full trilogy. And so I love the idea of dueling back and forth. I think it gives the reader such depth and things that Emeline can't see in this world that she's in because everything is misinformation. And it's so hard for her to actually get to know anyone or understand it. And so I really want to take the readers on an adventure. I want them to investigate with me and like with her and discover how the past is still affecting the future.
Well, as this is International Women's Day, I am so glad that you're here and you are telling us about your passion, and I know that's going to inspire others. But I do want to ask a personal question because you did say that this was happening when you were going through postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And I can see, at least as a mother, how there are bits of that throughout even Conform. And
Mhm.
although Emeline isn't a mother, she is seeing bits and pieces of families and birth. And how did that affect this story in particular? And will it affect others going forward?
It will definitely affect others going forward. I am a mom. It is a part of who I am. I didn't understand the depth of that. I don't think most women do until they give you that little baby, and all of a sudden everything you were changes. I mean, I've got a line in the next book that no matter what edits happen won't change, and it's about the idea that, like, we must all mourn the death of the girl you were when the world shows you the cost of being a woman. And for me, that is like the crux of all of this, is this idea that looking at women and all their different facets, but especially mothers, because especially in this space, I feel like moms get a short end of the stick in the sense of, like, you're either a part of the trauma story for a character and you're gone, or you're kind of in over here. And I'm surrounded by women right now, all going through this, and I've never met stronger women. I've never met more capable women. And I've never met women who are trying so hard to not only raise the next generation, but also you kind of raise yourself while you do that.
Yeah.
And this book was really born in that time when I was trying to understand, okay, I'm a mama too. My autonomy feels like it's gone. Everything's changed. How do I get out of this? And I had stopped planning. My depression wasn't like I wanted it to end, but it was like someone had just turned the switch off. And all the joy and all the hope, I just like it didn't hit me right. And so that's what got me here. And the story really is like very much an ode to what it takes to be a woman. I think obviously a man can still read it and find a lot of joy in it, but it for me it was like kind of my all my feminine rage, all the things in my life that I had been slowly choking on until I got to such a low point. And I wanted to give them to fierce women, and I wanted to also highlight all the different strengths. Like Emeline's strength is not like a guns blazing in your face strength. She has this very quiet but unrelenting strength of questioning what she shouldn't. And
Yes.
I think a woman's mind is a superpower. And watching her refuse when everything tells her not to, and not that she doesn't make bad calls, because, like, let's be honest, our girl makes some bad calls in this book. But yeah, I wanted to do that. And then part of, like, when you're saying doing a prequel next, Conform, I joke, but I do mean it fully. Was the ladder I built myself to help get out of depression. And I also went to traditional therapy, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. I'm a firm believer, if you're struggling, you should seek someone professionally to talk to. But as I healed, this darker thing came out, and beneath is kind of that representation of, like, when you actually heal, you get worse because you have to sit with all the things you had been avoiding. And so that's really kind of like, I say it's the same coin, like Conform and Beneath, their stories are the same coin. And one's the shiny side that saw the sun and made you pick it up. And Beneath is the dark side that only, like, it's the only reason the shiny side made it.
Well, and that's so the covers. I mean, we've seen, I don't know if everybody, but y'all, if y'all haven't seen that cover, I mean, you go from this white and gold Conform cover to now a very much a darker, like the underbelly side of what's going on. And I love that duality. And you really do have duality all the way through this book. I mean, one, you have the cover where I don't have one with me, but the top and the bottom are mirrors of each other with duality to give off that symbolism. You have her eyes with the blue and the brown. You have, the clouds and you have beneath. I mean, there's so much full, it's just chock full of this. So did you have fun with that? Did it come out um because that's what the story was going to be about, or did you find pieces to make it work even better?
No, I think duality was a an instant theme for me that I wanted to focus on and look into. One, because I was dealing with it internally as I was trying to hold myself as a woman, and then also myself as a mother. And
Mhm.
then that got even deeper into just all these different layers of how can I see the duality in the world. And I say a lot. I wrote this in a time where COVID had a lot of terrible things, some great things. Like, we all came together. Everybody was seeking a way to communicate and, like, preserve humanity while we were in isolation. But then it's kept going. And then all of a sudden it felt like there was a divide that took place. And people had very specific ideas on how COVID should keep going and how we should navigate it. And I felt like that divide just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I made a comment as I was talking with friends that like so much was getting lost in the gray. And so that duality is really the both sides that I was seeing everywhere. And I put the minors in gray because they are smack dab in the middle. And so it just was fun. And I love a theme that touches so many times that you can't help but be like, it's right there. And how can you apply it everywhere else? And so, yeah, it was an instant theme that I wanted to look at because it was something that I felt like we were losing in certain ways.
You talked about, your role as a mother and also a woman. And we do have these interesting relationships throughout this book, one of which is her mother. And we get, kind of memories at the beginning. And then she does crash into her at the dinner. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship in particular and how it's affected the character, how it affected Emeline more so, than we thought?
Yeah, I think in creating the world, they take the offspring, the kids at 4. That was very intentional. Foundational memories aren't really formed at that point. And so the mother knows everything and remembers all of it, and the child doesn't. And I think for Emeline, she can only fill in the blank of knowing that her mother's not there. And she doesn't really know what happened beforehand. And so I think that shapes her in the sense that she's got this. I mean, throughout the whole book, you see her, she makes questionable decisions, but it's at the same core of like wanting to be loved. She wants to feel like someone loves her. And I think that most of our wounds and most of our wants stem from childhood. And I think hers stems from being alone. And that relationship, thankfully, and I'm very excited, gets a lot of page time in the sequel. We're going to dive more into it, find out Helen's side of the story, because you don't get it in this one. She makes an attempt and there's that disruption. And so I think for Emeline, I won't spoil what's coming, but I think having answers is always nice.
Absolutely. And for the twins, because we talk about them being taken at 4, but the twins, obviously, I'm talking about Collin and Nora, were taken together and have had this unusual togetherness more so than other children, I think, in the academy. So, one, I think, is that part of the duality as well? Like the twins were obviously part of that. And how, I don't know what I'm trying to ask, but like how much did those two make up part how this world works because they are such an anomaly.
Yeah, I think a lot, yes, it definitely has to do with duality, but also the idea of, I don't know if anybody here has friends who are twins, but they have a very special connection.
We have a
I have
twin
friend.
on the call, by the way.
Oh, do you?
She's already
Okay.
raising her hand. Yes, keep going.
Right. So, Kayla, you would know this and we wouldn't. I've had friends who are twins who will say something the other is thinking, who will hum a song and the other knows it. And they're like, yep, like that's okay. Carrie's a twin too. So there's this weird connection. And I thought, like, if the Illum are controlling everything, which they are, spontaneous things have to happen. Twins is not an uncommon, spontaneous thing to happen. And so, what would that be like for them to never have been alone? What does that mean to them around the rest of the world where isolation is what they thrive on? So you have this connection that no matter what the Elum does, you can't take away the fact that they've been with this person since conception. And I thought that was a cool idea to look at how did they view the world differently.
Well, and I think it was so interesting to get Nora's perspective as a mother from someone that was very near her age in comparison to these thoughts that she had about her own mother and how that might affect her life. It was just and then the other relationship I thought was very fascinating was the siblings, the sister Emeline with the brothers, and especially with the younger two. Uh, how did you decide what their characters were going to be like? Because they are so different, but there is a thread of togetherness with them.
Yeah, I mean, there was an idea when I was like crafting a family unit, right? The family unit has been broken apart. So, what nurture versus nature would stay? And so, I do think you see a common thread between Emmeline and her siblings, but
Hmm.
you're right; they are very different. And I wanted to just highlight what it's all about what matters to them within this world. And Gregory, I joke, some characters take a little coaxing. I have to try to like understand them fully. I joke that Gregory came in with like a suitcase full of trauma and was like, I'm here to mess things up. Put me in. I'm ready. He was so fully fledged that I was like, all right, like let's do it. And then Philip just represented a different side of it as well. Like, what does this look like if you are trying to chase what, his father seems to think that he should have? And what does that cost him? And yet he's friends with Nora, and like there's all these different like little ties between them. But I really wanted to highlight how the system affected the nurturing aspect of a family dynamic versus the nature aspect of like these people are blood related no matter what they do. And I do think there's little things that would carry even if you're not with them. And so it was just like again, duality of like exploring both of them. And then you get to get the other brother a little bit more in the next one.
Okay, I love the descriptions in this book. One, everybody loves Gregory. It's like, I mean, he just is
Yes.
such a great character to root for, but they also seem so alive. Have you thought about actors or did you envision certain people or is it just Gregory to you? Wait, I'm going to go ahead and say any chance this could be a movie, a series, whatever.
I mean, let's all, knock on wood and keep hoping that that's where we're headed. I would love to see it. Obviously, I think every writer wants to see the next stage because in my mind, when I watch it, it is a movie.
Yeah.
It's how I see it. If I close my eyes and hear a song that I write to, I can see the whole thing every time, no matter what we're doing. Because
Oh,
I
wait,
write
so
to,
you have a playlist?
I do, I
And is
do.
that
If you
shared?
It is shared. So it's on Spotify. You can also go get it in my book club guide on my Instagram and on my website. But I write to the same song on repeat for each scene until that scene is done. And I've looked into I don't know if anybody is like a brain geek like I consider myself. I like looked into why this works and it like plays off your limbic system where all memories and emotions are stored. And so I think it allows me to stay in that loop of that feeling that I'm trying to like get across in the narrative. But yeah, so I can see it in terms of if these people are actors in my head, not really, they are themselves. But I can
Mhm.
tell you kind of a vibe or an energy that I like had when I was like thinking of them.
Yes, give me your
Um,
thoughts.
so Gregory was Jake Gyllenhaal with like a shaved head. He kind of has that like weird Jake plays that really good like vibe of like sometimes he's a very dynamic character. And I like that he sometimes can seem brash, but like typically there's a good heart depending on what he's playing. Hal is 10 Things I Hate About You, Heath Ledger. That's just how I saw him. Like this like charming but kind of bad boy, but annoying, like obnoxious, but you want to root for him a little, like even when you don't.
Yeah.
Collin to me is like a Henry Cavill Superman. He's so
Yeah.
buttoned up. You don't know in this book who he really is, what he's doing. You only see these little moments. He never talks on the page, no matter how much I ask him to. So if you guys are all annoyed with that, please know I am as well. And we're working on it, him and I, and the next one. And then we're trying to work on Hal saying maybe a little less and not putting his foot in his mouth so much. And then for me, Emeline, this one makes no sense, but I think it's because I've written to Gracie Abrams so much different songs, but she in my head kind of has that like ethereal Gracie Abrams like feel to her, like very delicate but commanding.
Well, I love this thought process of with the music because I've been hearing, I know heated rivalry is everywhere right now, but
It
the
is.
what those songs have done for emotional storage, and how it does bring back emotions and how people are listening to it and I don't it just it's I think it's a great method. And I love that you mentioned that, especially because I think we have some writers in their script.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I also wanted to go over the fashion in this book because I think that's also part of that movie cinematic. It gave me Hunger Games, sort of the twirling, the over-the-top costumes, the cloud gown. Have you received some fan fiction or anything with fan art on what these visualize, or do you have this maybe somewhere drawn up?
I mean, my sketches aren't anything anybody wants to see, but yes, I definitely have like little sketches here and there. But I have had a couple reach out. They don't want them public, which I totally respect. But it's so cool to see. Like, I think that's the coolest thing when art goes to the next step and somebody else makes art.
Yes.
I love fashion. I see fashion as another, how you dress is art. It's expressing something. And I wanted to have a woman who was okay wearing a dress. I feel like a lot of narratives, you lose that femininity in terms of finding strength. And I really wanted to lean into she can be strong and she can find her voice and she can still really love a gown and heels and to feel pretty. Cause like, I think that's like girlhood in like a nutshell. And I love that. And I want that for the reader. And then I basically took gowns from like a 1950s Chanel top with a bottom from a Dior dress. And I just started kind of putting them together. And like, it was a fun way to like create something else within the narrative.
Again, getting to be a kid living this up. I feel like it's just
Yeah.
like fantastic. So Rose is the designer of all of
Hmm.
these gowns, and she mysteriously is talking to someone in the background. You don't have to reveal who it is, but are we going to find out? Is that going to be an important part to this? Because it was so mysterious in this book.
Yeah. I can say that the Starlings have a good sized role in the next book, and you're going to find out a lot because Emmeline's going to have to see them more. Um, you're going to find out their story more in depth. You're going to find out why is she allowed to create gowns? Why are two women in the clouds doing this? So there's so much that in the first narrative, Emeline just unfortunately wasn't subjected to, much to her dismay, and why we see her so desperate to understand. And in the next installment for Conform, she's up in the clouds now. And so there's so many things that you're going to get to see and feel, and she's going to get to know people better, for better and worse. Not all of it's like a cheery thing.
Well, I love that she constantly has questions coming out of her mouth, whether or not she wants them to or not. It's almost like we get the inside of her head because it's stuff we want to know, right? We're learning this world as well. Did you relate quite a bit with Emmeline? Is that some part of you, that curiosity, or is that just Emmeline's quality?
I would say so. I like to give characters bits and pieces of myself, but I don't like to make any one character
Yeah.
any one person. So from Friends too. No, I she's an ode to yes me, but also to a lot of friends I know who were the why kids. Why? And I was that child. I've always been curious. I hope I die curious. But I do. I want to understand things. And I think a lot of us do. And sometimes you're afraid to ask. And I love that she can't silence that part of herself, that she needs to understand. And she's also kind of an ode, which is just her, but like the too muchness. She wants too much. She thinks too much. She feels too much. And she wears it for everyone to see in a world where they want you to be sedated and subdued. And so, yeah, she's definitely a little bit of me in the sense of like needing to understand.
But I think that's what wakes Colin up. I don't think he was expecting to have that much life, that much interest, that much curiosity to come out of
Yeah.
her or anybody really. And it sort of threw him for a loop and is making him uncomfortable in that suit because he doesn't know how to control or even how to deal with someone like that.
Yeah, she's such an anomaly. Whereas, like, I think for someone like him who spent his whole life feeling like an anomaly, and here comes another one in a different form,
Yeah.
and you get to see how she handles it and how it makes him feel. Because people are always a mirror that make you see different sides of yourself and feel different things.
Okay, I want to talk beneath just a little bit to see how much
Yeah.
we can find out here. From beneath, how much of a prequel is it? Can you tell us what the timeline looks like so that we have an idea as far as what that jump's going to be?
Yeah. So you're going back 200 years,
200 years. Okay.
right? So it's right after the last war.
And
You're about
okay.
6 years. You're about 6 years after the war.
Okay. And then how are we going to have some of this back and forth then, or is it going to be completely 200 years ago, or are we going to have some of this coming forward with the characters we already know?
No, it's completely new. You're getting all new characters. You're getting all new scenes. Beneath takes place in a place called Haven, and
Okay.
Haven is the origins of how Emeline's story comes. And there's little ties, and you should see them on the first couple pages where you're like, wait. And so it's more of, I say it's more of a mystery and like an investigation for the reader to slowly start to see it tie together. But no, you're not going to hear anything of Emeline. You're not going to. It will be the opposite, though. I will say that as the series continues, the future will see glimpses of the past.
Do you feel like this book is more intense than Conform was because we are in a war and does it have that sort of urgency?
Yeah, no, it's definitely very intense. I think the pacing, while Conform is fast paced, this pacing is more like a if you don't move or else feeling throughout the whole book. I do say it does deal with mental health issues. It's darker. The main female character could not be more different from Emeline. She's an act first, ask questions later. She is dealing with a lot of trauma, as all of them are post the war. So it's darker. It looks into like what it means to be human, what you would fight for if you thought you were losing everything. It's darker, it's grittier, but you'll start to see ties, and some of them won't be obvious till you end it.
So I know a couple of the readers here have had the art copies, and they are all so excited and smiling and nodding and making us all so jealous for that we haven't. But when you got into Beneath, did it feel like a new experience to you, or did it just feel like, oh, this is happening again? Like this is where it happened, and I know why it's happening again later.
It was different than writing Conform. Beneath, like there's guardrails because I made the world. So it felt
Right.
very much it was I wouldn't say it was easier to write, but it felt smoother because Conform was such an explosion of complete what do I want to happen? That's
Mhm.
at first. And so Beneath was definitely a different feel than that while writing it.
Now, part of the connection that could possibly happen is the art, because we know that Emeline is looking at art throughout her job.
Hmm.
One, why did you make this be her job, which I totally loved, by the way. And it seemed to be that you mirrored the artwork to be what the scene was coming up or what she was feeling. It was very, very intentional. Can you talk about your decision making there?
Yeah. From a selfish standpoint, I love art. I think it's one of the most beautiful things humans do. That we take something that is difficult or that we see something that makes us feel something and then we create it and we allow people hundreds of years later who you have no ties to experience it and to feel it. And all of a sudden, something that you felt was private to only yourself, you realize isn't. And I think that is the whole human experience is to like let others know they're not alone. And so I wanted to use art from the get go. And then I had this idea of she doesn't get to feel emotions, right? The whole world is stagnant and sterile. Art can't be that. And I'm also a firm believer. I think art is always like a rebellion, always. So if I was dealing with a rebellion again, with like, I just felt like that was a way to put it there. Um, and what it made her feel. And you get to see that she's like, wait, what was so bad? So she has all these questions about like, what happened? Why can't we have this anymore? And then she, on the flip side, sees an art piece and she's like, oh, thank God we can't feel this. And I love that for her. I love that for the reader. And in terms of them being mirrors or little moments, every single one's an Easter egg as well. And
Yes.
they're little things that are telling you about this narrative, about the narratives to come, about characters' fates. So it's all like interwoven. And for me, it was just like a fun way to say and make a reader feel in only a way that art can. And I hope that it sends people from a selfish standpoint looking at real art and what the human hand and mind can create over something made not by a human hand or mind.
So for those who listen to the audiobook, is there a way to find out which art pieces of art were focused on what they, because sometimes we don't know the title, right? We just get a description. Do you have that documented somewhere? Is that also in the book club guide, maybe?
That is not, it was not in the original book club guide, but for the paperback, we are going to add in an art guide for the reader. That way you can see the visual, have it, because I do think you guys need it. And I tried, I believe I named all but one of them.
Okay.
And the one I didn't name, you will get the name if that makes like it didn't leave it open ended. You will find it out. But yeah,
You
so I'd
mentioned
love to do it a way to make it easier for you guys.
perfect. No, I'm really excited about that. I think that's a great addition. Betty asked, is there going to be a special, well, you mentioned paperback, so I have to take it even further. Are there going to be special editions for Conform or Beneath beyond paperback? And is there, I mean, we're going to have 9 books that can be sitting on our shelf matching. Is this a
Yeah.
possibility? Like, what does this look like long term?
I
Mapper.
mean, look, hopes and dreams, right? You got to have the audacity to be delusional enough to think all of it's going to happen. So I would love special editions for all of them. I would love an art special edition for Conform,
Yes.
um, that has it maybe in there in some capacity. Thankfully, thanks to all of you guys sharing that you love it with all your friends, there's been a phenomenal response, and it does look like we're going to be able to make something. Timeline on when that will happen is still up in the air, but yes. And if I have any say in it, I would absolutely love to bring you every special edition. I would love to see the map in color. There's so many things that I would love to do with the book. And it looks like we're going to try to make that happen for you guys.
Well, keep being bold. Like you went to talk to Jenna, like if you have to ask, like just keep asking for these
You just
things.
have to keep go. Yeah. I mean,
Keep
just go
going
for
because
it.
and let them know us readers are backing you. Like we have your back. And I do think that art covers for all of them because there are paintings I feel like that probably I don't know the other books, y'all have no inside here. But since she's an art lover, I just think, oh, could we like morph art into the spines or something like, oh, that would
I
just
would I would love to have it create a whole image by the time the whole thing is done. So yeah, I'm sure that's way down the road. But yes, I love that idea. And we're gonna make it happen one way or
all
another.
right. Are you a Swiftie? Just curious, because
I
this is something totally Taylor Swift would be doing.
I am a Swiftie. I'm her age, so I feel like every life upheaval I've ever had has been documented some way or another in one of her songs. I'm sure every millennial woman feels that way. She's also such a beautiful writer. Her lyrics are so stunning, and the way she like ties melodies together past certain albums where they tie into others. So yes, long-winded answer.
And I'm going to go ahead and just manifest this as well. I feel like she needs to be writing a song for each of the 9
I
movies
mean,
that are coming out. Like,
look,
don't y'all think that's a great idea? I just feel like it's such a good match here. Same age, same, yeah, this
look.
needs to happen.
It's been said, and so it is. We're just gonna call it like that. She doesn't know it yet, but she'll well later. We'll come to terms with all the
Yeah,
nitty gritty later.
yeah, I'll text her after this and just let her
Perfect,
know it's
perfect.
happening. All right, can you discuss your epilogue because that was a neat add-on. Like, give us your go at that.
Yeah, it's it's a person talking to a person for sure. There is
Yeah.
that. There's
Uh-huh.
that. As to who it is, I also know that, but I'm not gonna tell you. But yeah, I've had some wild guesses, which has been really great. I really enjoy it. They get wilder and wilder, and I'm here for it. But
Okay.
yes, I will say that every single word, it's not a long epilogue, and every word was very intentional.
Okay. So I feel like we're all going to need to go back and do a deep dive into this book because there's so much I feel like I didn't get. So everybody, if you do not know already, Beneath is coming out at the towards the end of the month, March 24th. Is that right,
Yep,
Ariel?
correct.
And if you would like to pre-order, which I know all of you will be doing, you can also get a signed copy. Mike, can you drop that link for me? There's you can get that from Strand. So grab that link in the chat, and there it is. If you want to get a signed copy of Beneath at your front door, order it it's because you're going to want to read Conform. I'm just going to say, I feel like we're all going to want to read it before Beneath so that we can get all these special details. Um,
You might want to read it after. I will say it does read differently after Beneath.
Okay. Okay.
I
I'm
mean, you
gonna
can read
start
it
working
both
that.
by all means. I'm a firm believer that rereads are necessary and very
Yeah.
good to do. So, but it will read differently.
Okay. Kim, I'm with you. This is interesting. This is what I'm going to do then. I'm taking your advice. All right, everybody, you have the chance to ask questions. So be thinking of that while y'all are getting your head straight as to what you want to ask. I'm going to go with some rapid fire to Ariel.
Okay,
You ready?
I'm ready.
Chocolate cake or a nougat?
Chocolate cake.
Sunrise or sunset?
That's really hard, but sunrise.
Do you have a fear of heights?
No.
Do you have a favorite tea?
Yes, peppermint.
If you have to choose unknown or alone,
Mm, alone.
and favorite painting from Conform.
Oh God, that's mean.
Girl.
I honestly don't think I can answer that. I think the broken column will make me cry every time I look at it for the rest of my life. But I also love the Picasso piece. I'll butcher it if I try to say it in French, but it's a woman with a book. And I think that one's such a beautiful one as well. But then also um, St. Bartholomew's Day. That's the one of the two lovers embracing. I think that might be one of the saddest paintings I've ever seen.
And I love that Hal makes her experience these emotions. But I also wonder when you talk nurture versus nature, how much this job in particular got her ready to ask all those questions. For me, I almost feel like this job is a dangerous one to put anybody in that might have any sort of inclination into that genetic ask.
Yeah, I will say to the people who don't think the job makes sense, it will make a lot of sense here very soon because they're looking for something.
Okay. I'm so excited. Okay. People, readers, do y'all have questions for Ariel? And I'm going to go back into the chat box and see. Let's go at the beginning. Anissa, yes. I'm going to ask you to unmute and I'm going to spotlight you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Albie. Thank you, Ariel, for coming tonight.
Of course.
Curious, if you've had a lot of readers who have told you, that this wasn't their typical genre, and that how much they love being pulled into this. Because my personal story was Thousand Voices that contacted me about reading the book, and I was like, no, I'm a hot no on that. No, that's not. They're like, and if and would you like to give it to your book club? Which there's about five or six on here, and but then I got it, and I couldn't put it down, and I started, as I was reading, was messaging the girls. I'm like, you all are going to like this. You're going to like this, and I had to really sell them on it at first, but now, we're so deep into the world, and most of us that had met you in Charleston with Jenna have read Beneath, and I love Beneath even more than Conform, which I didn't think was possible. So I'm hoping, with book three it will be even more. So, but I'm just curious, I know you got to go on, well, whatever it was, 10 stops or whatever, a couple with Jenna alongside you, and just curious to how, if in signing lines or whatever about, you know um have a lot of readers told you that how much they loved coming into this, even though they'd never really read, which is probably its own new genre to begin with, but just the whole dystopian thing.
Yeah, no, I did. I have had a lot of people say I would never choose to read this. I've also had a lot of mom and daughters read it, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think I could read romance with my daughter or this." And it's like, but you've done it in a way where I feel like it is. And so, yeah, I didn't want to make it, I mean, not to use a pun, but I didn't want to conform in the sense of making it strictly one genre, one reader group. I think a good book can apply to so many people and you all get a different story out of it. So, yes, I have been told that a lot. And I'm incredibly thankful that people take a chance on it when they see the genre and think maybe this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to follow up with this one because we had an anonymous user ask this. Is Beneath spicier than Conform? Especially because if we're talking kids or maybe we're just talking 40 somethings, we need to know this answer.
Yeah, no, it's spicier. It's spicier. Anybody here who's read it,
They're all nodding,
it's
yes.
yeah, no, it's a little heated. It's a little heated.
Great. I'm going to call on Karen because I know you asked a
Yes,
minute
sorry,
ago.
I
Go ahead.
figured out how to do the raise hand. Thank you for somebody that helped
Perfect.
the I use WebEx, not Zoom for work. Um, so I'm I love the story. Obviously, we're all here because we loved your story. How do you deal with like imposter syndrome? Because so currently drafting my first book. I'm a published academic. I should know. I should be fine. I should be okay, I know how to write words and say them sometimes, but like, I feel like because fiction, especially when you're not conforming to like a certain beat sheet or a certain template, you almost have too many options. And then I feel like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. I should stop. Right. And I just feel
Yeah.
like your story connects, the way you came up with your story connects to my origin story for my story. And I'm just wondering how you have battled that or if you ever come up
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. First, congratulations on drafting your first book. It's a big deal.
Thank you.
And so good for you. In terms of imposter syndrome, it used to scare me, how bad it was. It's still really bad. But I've stopped looking at it as something that I need to be afraid of. And I've just tried to hold its hand and realize that it's there because I care. It's also there because at some point in my life, being seen or being heard felt dangerous. And so I just kind of look at it and like remind it, like, it's okay. No, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I still don't. Like writing my second book, my husband can attest to this, my friends. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why people are buying my book. It still happens. And I just don't think it's going anywhere. And at the same time, I hope it never does, because I think what imposter syndrome really is growth. And it's the fact that you're stepping into a room or a place or a role that you've never been before. And that's a scary thing to do. But if you stop doing it, then you're not growing. And so for me, it's much better to just be terrified and go for it. And I just now have adopted that I have the audacity to be so delusional that, like, why not? Why not me? Why not this story? Doesn't mean I don't panic. Those close to me see me have my full meltdowns of like, oh my God, everybody's going to hate it. But yeah, I'm more scared to not talk and use my voice and step into rooms I thought I never had a role in than to stay where I'm comfortable, because I did that for a long time.
Thank you.
Such a great question, Karen. And I will follow up on this one too, because I've heard that when we hear that voice in our head, that's actually not you. That's your defense mechanism for trying something new, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's saying don't hurt yourself, don't put yourself in that danger, but it's really our growth. So name that voice in your head something else, like, I don't know, Marguerite or whatever you want to name her. Do it, Karen, because you are
Yeah.
gonna be an awesome author, and we can't wait to see what you bring as well. All right, Eileen, I believe one of our twins would like to ask a question. Go ahead. We have three twins at least in this call.
That's crazy.
Yes. There you go.
I'm a twin. I'm an identical twin.
Oh, wow.
My question that I have is, I have read both of the books now, and my question is because there's 200 years between book 1 and 2, where does book 3 take us?
Book 3, we're going
If you can
back.
share.
Yeah, no, I can. We're going back to Conform, and you're going to pick up exactly where you left off. Because I left you on a pretty brutal cliffhanger, and I know that was mean, so I'm not going to continue that meanness.
It's a great
You are
strategy.
picking up it. Look, I mean, I wrote that beginning being like, I fuck everything up, and I was like, well, here we are. So yeah, you're going to pick up right there again and see where it takes Emeline. So you're going to go. There's no time jump.
Right.
Thanks for being with us today.
Of
Hey,
course.
we're not just getting beneath, we're getting the third book information too. So thank you, Eileen, for that. All right, Amber, I'm gonna let you ask your question. Let's see. Add spotlight. Go ahead. Can you unmute?
Yes,
There you
I
go.
can. I wanted to say I really loved the simplicity of the title, Conform. And I just wanted to ask you about the title. Which came first, the book or the title? Did you struggle with coming up with the title, or was it super easy as you got into it?
Oh, you're the first person to ask me that. The story came first. The story came first. And the title kind of sat there for a while, and it took me a while to have the guts to be like, that's what I'm going to call it. Just one name, one word. Like it, I just wanted it to be something that jumped off the page. And so I didn't know if that was right. And this is where imposter syndrome came in. I think I knew the title very early on. I did not title the book until I finished the first draft. But by the time I finished the first draft, all 9 books had titles.
And so we know that book 0 is a one-word title. Is that going to continue?
It is. It is. You're only getting one word from me. That's it.
Perfection. All right. Great question, Amber. There's one in the chat I want to ask. Another anonymous said, what's something you haven't been asked about Conform yet, but you wish you would have been asked?
Oh gosh, I feel like these book clubs are phenomenal because I do get to like you guys get to have the one-on-one time or like as close as we can get. So I do feel like I have been asked now everything. I have been asked who the Reaper is. I've been asked if there's going to be a why choose. I've been asked all the things, which is great. Honestly, the thing that sometimes some groups don't ask me about the art, you guys did. So like, I love any time that I can talk about the art. That makes me so happy. No, oh, I do have one. I do have one.
Yes.
Why is the leader of the city a woman?
Okay. And the answer is
I can't give it. I just thought that would jump off the page more.
oh my gosh. So what you're saying is that you like to give these drop out endings and then we can't follow up. This is like
100%. It's a pattern. It's a thing. I'm working on it. Not really, but it's a thing. Because those of you who have read Beneath, you also know that it's also a little bit cliffy at the end. There's some bumps.
Well,
but no, I just thought it would jump off the page more.
Well, I think there's little clues in this talk we're gonna have to go back and listen to as well. I do have one random question that you may not have been asked, but maybe so. Will we get more of Alice at some point?
I have been asked. And I think we're going to learn what happened to Alice.
Okay. All right. Because that's something that was like just a little hanging there. I needed to find out. Okay. So we will find out more. Beneath comes out March 24th. Is there a plan? Is it mapped out, Taylor, for how these books are going to be released going off in the future?
I mean, I have my map. And
what's your map? That's the important part. What's your map?
If we all get on the same page, it's going to be a little chaotic and not traditional.
Okay.
I want to tell the story the way I see it in my head. I'm so thankful that Jenna, Thousand Voices, PRH, my editor, read Beneath, and they're like, we can see it. And we've now talked more. I'm in edits for the next book for Conform. So they see it even more now that we're there.
Okay.
So I think if it keeps growing like this, expect the unexpected.
So in other words, again, you're just not going to conform and don't do it. I think it's a great something that's been serving you well.
It's so far it's worked. Like why change course now? But I think some of the best stories are told in circuitous routes. And so that's kind of the way I want to take you guys if you guys can buy in and ride the ride with me.
Well,
and handle all the cliffs.
We are all in. And I know some people had to drop early, but they said they enjoyed this chat so much. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, readers. Thank y'all for joining and the awesome questions. I know we probably didn't get to all of them because there were so many great ones, but I know Ariel is on social media. So please follow her on Instagram. Like she said, she has a website if you want to check out and go over some of those book club questions with your own book club. That would be fantastic. But tonight is her last book club. She's switching gears to Beneath, which we are excited about too. So stay tuned for all those new announcements that are going to be coming out for our next installment that we simply can't wait for. But I will say, it's just been so awesome you introducing us to this amazing world, for allowing us to live there in these books with you. But before I even thank you even more, I'm going to quickly blurb our next chat. Okay. So y'all pay attention. Coming up at the end of this month, March 30th at 8 p.m., we're going to be discussing Tilt by Emma Pate. I need to find out how to pronounce her name. She's a journalist and her paperback's already out for Tilt. This was chosen in honor of World Climate Day, which I'm thinking could be a very appropriate thematic follow-up to Conform. And also it will make Earth Day even more special. So take a listen or read. It's set over the course of a single day, an electrifying debut novel. Again, you're seeing a theme here with debut. From a powerful new literary voice, says Vogue, following one woman's journey across a transformed earthquake city, carrying the weight of her past and fervent hope for the future. And did I mention she's 9 months pregnant? So stay tuned. Y'all will want to read this. You'll want to join. New York Times review said it's a moving adrenaline rush that also manages to be very funny. So I think everybody's going to enjoy this, and especially hearing from Emma. She is a climate journalist, so I think we're going to dive deep into that. Um, and then for all of you watching the recording again, please hit subscribe. That way you'll find out when the other ones are released, and then you can find out what your favorite author is saying next. Again, I just want to thank you so much for showing us that there's something beautiful in this. There's something different, for crashing us into those starburst amber eyes. We now know that the darkest depths allow us to experience the highest peaks. And because the reader's needs are Ariel's needs, and she has now tethered her soul to each of us, we now know that we love defying gravity and sanity. It's been a fantastic ride on this book. We can't wait to go backwards, but I'm going to leave us all with this. May we all have the chocolate, okay? All of us just have the chocolate. I'll see everybody at the end of this month. Have a great night. And Ariel, awesome. You're so awesome. Keep it coming.
Oh,
We're so excited to be on this journey with you.
thank you all so much for coming tonight and for having me. This was lovely.
All right, everybody. See y'all next time. Bye, everybody.